Hello, people of the internet! I am Alex the Unquotable. Welcome back to Don't Quote Me on That. And today I am reviewing the latest in the Marvel Cinematic Universe release, Captain Marvel. Spoilers ahead! Just begin talking about this, I was actually really nervous for this film. Captain Marvel has kind of always been a sort of a minor blip on the Marvel radar, even in its comic form. For many years, I didn't even realize that Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel were that big of a thing. When you have such a big medium that's dominated by such great characters such as Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hulk, Wolverine, the Fantastic Four and such, it's hard to pick up on such great characters such as Captain Marvel. But Carol Danvers is a really good character. In the comics, she's a strong female character. She has a great morality. She has a certain stubbornness and toughness with her that makes her a great playoff to any of the male characters. Not to mention, she sparked one of my favorite female characters. My sister and my cat. Yes, he's Goose. He's Goose. He's Goose. That's my cat R2. He's Goose. Do you want to come and join me for the review, buddy? Yes?
He does.
Oh, I got a big orange fluffy cat on my lap. It's appropriate for this review. Anyway, Captain Marvel in the comics has always been... She's always had a certain morality, a certain stubbornness about her that makes her a great playoff for any of the strong male characters that appear within Marvel. And not to mention, she sprouted one of my favorite comic characters, Kamala Khan, the current Miss Marvel. And I had to say, I had very sort of nervous feelings going into this. I just didn't know what to expect. I knew it was going to be set in the past. I knew it was going to be a sort of an introduction, not only to a new character that we hadn't seen at all in the past 11 years, but also an introduction to the origins of Nick Fury and Coulson, as well as the idea of superhumans on Earth besides Captain America. So, oh, there's another cat. Who's gonna keep supplying me with cats?
We only got 2.
I've just redirected the camera so you can see the cat. Yes, that's right, I have my own goose. Say hello. Anyway.
You could just see her white spot. Oh!
The cats are taking over this review. Okay, so anyway, I didn't have that many expectations for this film going into it. In fact, I didn't really know what this was going to be. I knew it was going to be set in the past. I knew it was going to be an introduction to Nick Fury, Captain Marvel, and Coulson. Not to mention, we'd never heard anything about Carol Danvers in the past 11 years of movies, which is a massive risk, but one I was more than happy for. Personally, I really liked Wonder Woman when it came out with DC, so I was excited for a character that was, female. I was excited for a female-centered hero film done in a series that would actually treat her really well. Not to say when Wonder Woman wasn't done well, I just feel like if she wasn't in the DC universe, it would be a lot better for her. Anyway, let's go into this review and talk about Captain Marvel. So Captain Marvel starts on the planet of Hala. If you don't know what Hala is, Hala. Hala is the Kree homeworld, and it is home to the Kree. Now, if you've ever heard the term Kree before in the MCU, you probably remembered them from Guardians of the Galaxy, and a particular guy by the name of Ronan the Accuser, a big, blue, grumpy guy who wanted to bomb the heck out of a planet and use one of the Infinity Stones to... what was it?
I will unfurl 1,000 years of Kree justice on Xandar and burn it to its core.
Yeah, the Kree in the comics were always one half of a war. They were never good, but they were never bad. You had good Kree and you had terrible Kree. Really, in the comics, the Kree only came to Earth because they saw it as a strategic point for their war with the Skrulls. And whereas the Skrulls, who are an alien race of shapeshifters who take over a planet by kidnapping and imitating famous public figures and then taking over the system from within, the Kree were more of a, we show up, we take over, and you do as we say. And that always made them not very big favorites. If anything, the Kree were fascinated with Earth because the Kree themselves can no longer evolve. They're at the end of their evolutionary line. But humans, much like a Dragonite staring at a Charizard, have the ability to Mega Evolve. In a sort of sense. Humans have next sections of evolution. Anyway, we start on Hala, the Kree homeworld, with a young Kree named Veers. And she is being trained by Jude Law. I cannot remember his name at all in this film, so I'm just going to refer to him as Jude Law. Anyway, Veers is training, and she's over emotional. And Jude Law says that's bad. So he takes her to meet the Supreme Intelligence, who takes the form of whoever she most admires. And in this form, it's someone she doesn't remember. Anyway, she then goes on to a Halo mission for the first 15 minutes of the film, and that's exactly what it is, a Halo mission. Seriously, she's dropped off on an alien planet, she has to shoot up some aliens, she has to go into an old temple that nobody really knows about just to get attacked, and dragged onto an alien spaceship where she has to escape. Now the cool part is she goes onto a Skrull spaceship, and we start to see some of her fractured memories from her previous life. For 6 years, Veers has been living on Hala with no memory of anything before those 6 years. Just dreams, remembering a time before then. And... oh, he's gone. Bye! And... she doesn't quite know what to make of this. Now the Skrulls are suddenly digging into her brain and... they say her brain's messed up. Now like I said, the Skrulls are the other side of this war with the Kree. And they're also considered bad people. Mostly because of the whole take over your loved ones and imitate them deal that they have going on. They're not exactly favorites amongst humanity, but neither are the Kree. And it kind of seems like they're keeping with this war. The Kree are fighting the Skrulls because the Skrulls infiltrate Kree planets and take them over, but the Kree are taking them over as well. You can kind of guess, anyone who's read the comics, that the Kree aren't being fully honest about their intentions with the Skrulls, but you kind of assume that, but you have to assume that the Skrulls are just as bad, if not worse, than the Kree. Anyway, they seem to be looking for something in Veers' memories regarding a certain doctor of some kind, from a project named Pegasus. Anyway, Veers escapes, in spectacular fashion, and lands on the planet Earth in 1995. And to show that we're in the 90s, she lands in a blockbuster. This is where she meets Agents Fury and Coulson. And she gives chase to one of the Skrulls by punching an old lady. Yep, that's right, that scene in the trailer had reason. Anyway, the Skrull on the train gets away, but there was another Skrull posing as Coulson in Fury's car. And that's not how he loses his eye. Anyway, Veers wants to find out about Project Pegasus and decides to follow her memories to a bar, where she meets Fury, they get to know each other, and they go on to Project Pegasus. And when they get there, things go bad, but also awesome. For instance, we are introduced to the best character in this film, and the cutest, Goose the Cat, or Flurgan. Anyway, while they're at Project Pegasus, they realize that not everything is right. They break out, they search the records, they learn that this doctor was trying to make a Lightspeed engine, took a pilot down with her. That pilot was Veers, and she had a life on Earth before whatever happened. Anyway, the Skrulls come in, disguised as S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, with a few S.H.I.E.L.D. agents as well. And we meet one of the best actors in this film. I forget his name, I'll put it here, but I love him. He has made a name for himself in the past few years as being the best villain of a film. From Star Wars to Ready Player One to this film. He's an Australian actor who's making himself known as a really threatening villain, and I really like it. I'm sure he's done other work, but this is some really good stuff. And I need him also to be in a Harry Potter film at some point, because then I win a game of bingo with my dad. Anyway, They escape Project Pegasus in a Quinjet prototype called a Quadjet and decide to go and find Venus's friend from her previous life. A nice woman named... I forget what her name was. I remember her last name was Rambo. We'll call her Rambo. It's very strange. Anyway, Melissa Rambo? I believe it's that. They go to find a woman from Venus's past life known as Melissa Rambo and her daughter Monica. And when they get there, Venus gets some information on herself. She learns about the accident that got her into the hands of the Kree, and she starts to realize stuff about herself. Monica has a lot of Venus's possessions, and she learns that her name is Carol Danvers. She was a pilot that used to be part of the Air Force, but of course they didn't let women fly, so she was part of a test flight that went horribly wrong. And then Talos, the head of the Skrulls, shows up and he wants to talk. And I have to say, this was the part of the film that started to subvert my expectations. I mean, not only is Talos scared of Goose the cat, but he also has a bit more of a sympathetic story. Anyway, and he's also quite funny as well. I really like Talos. Anyway, we learn the truth about the crash. We learn that this Lightspeed engine was being developed to get to the Doc's lab, which was somewhere in orbit. But they got shot down and they crashed, and it was Jude Law who showed up and actually knocked out Veers. Well, no, Jude Law showed up and he killed the Doc, but then Veers shot the engine that they were looking for and absorbed its power. She got knocked out, taken back to the Kree homeworld, and her memory was modified by the Kree to become a weapon for them. Which is really bad, so we can already tell the Kree are being honest. Anyway, Melissa, Carol Danvers, Fury, Goose, and Talos all go up in the Quadjet into space to the Doc's lab, which is a big spaceship cloaked in orbit. And inside is none other than the Tesseract. And this was the whole reason why the Doc was here. The Doc was in fact a Kree in disguise, who had learned the real reason why the war was being fought and was angry at that. She was trying to develop a way to help the Skrulls. And the reason why? The Skrulls are refugees. Their planet was destroyed by the Kree many years ago for not letting themselves be subjugated underneath Kree rule. And Mar-Vell kept a bunch of innocent civilian Skrulls on this spaceship, including Talos' family. And that honestly took me by surprise. When you read The Secret War in the comics, the Skrulls are clearly bad guys. But here we learn that they're just people. This really subverted everything I knew about the comics, and I knew I was in new territory. I mean, I know that the movies have never been exactly true to the comics, but still, this was a big shock. And one that I really liked. Anyway, they have the Tesseract, which is of course the Space Stone, and they kind of try and get it off the spaceship. But of course, the Kree show up, they have a big fight. Veers is put back to talk to Supreme Intelligence, but completely rejects the Kree way of living. Careful, R2. So, she breaks out, she unlocks her full photon powers, and goes full Captain Marvel. They get the Kree off-world, she has a fight, and then the Accusers show up, here to bum Earth. And she goes up there and she shows them what for, and basically tells them Earth is off limits. Anyway, she sends Jude Law back to the Kree homeworld with a message, tells the Supreme Intelligence I'm coming for it, and it all wraps up really well. She gives the Tesseract to Fury to hold on to, not that he has much of a choice because it's inside of the Flurgan Goose. Goose also scratches Fury's eye, and that's the reason why he lost his eye, which I love. Because in the comics it's usually due to very grisly reasons, but I love the fact that just the scratch on the eye was the reason why he lost his eye to begin with. And also the reason why his scar looked like a cat scratch this entire time, which I never noticed before. Like seriously, go back and watch Iron Man, the original one. He clearly has a cat scratch over his eye. You can't unsee it now. Anyway, Carol Danvers gives him a space pager to call him if needed, and she goes off with the Skrulls to kick Kree butt and help them find a new place to live. And then, of course, the after-credit scene is that space pager turning off, and Carol showing back up on Earth, saying, "Where is Fury?" And of course, Fury, in the past also, names the Avengers after her. So yeah. So what did I think of this movie? I thought it was really good. I really liked the characters. Besides the Skrulls, which were a very sympathetic and a huge subversion of what I was expecting, I loved pretty much all of the characters. Talos was just enjoyable to listen to, and he kind of reveled in being the bad guy to begin with, but he just enjoyed his role. Watching Fury, Coulson, and Carol all interact was amazing. You can clearly tell that Captain Marvel was Fury's first and favorite child. The whole reason he started the Avengers Initiative and why he stayed with S.H.I.E.L.D. And I like this kind of Fury. In the later movies, Fury is so kind of mysterious and kind of Expendables in how he works. He's mysterious, he's dark, he's extreme. He's likable in some places, but here you're just meeting Fury the man, before he got all bald and gritty. And he's just enjoyable, especially the fact that he just hangs out with a cat. I love that. As for the Kree are good. They're not spectacular villains, but I still really enjoyed them. And I love the work for the Doc. I love the woman who plays Mar-Vell, the Doctor, the Supreme Intelligence. She loves her role. She's really enjoying it. I forget the name of the actress, but she's amazing and she does a really good job. And what do I think of Brie Larson as Captain Marvel? I think she did an amazing job. I think it's about time we got this kind of character within the MCU. Now, don't get me wrong, we've had a lot of female characters within the MCU, but most of them have been sort of hanger-oners to one of the male characters. Don't get me wrong, Pepper Potts is headstrong and a good supportive person, but she kind of only exists with Tony. And I forget her name, Natalie Portman's character from Thor, she's totally non-existent. You have Valkyrie, but she was kind of drunk, and she's more of a drunk, I kind of want to do it when I please kind of character. You have Scarlet Witch, who's sort of a she's more of a tragic, highly emotional character. And she's really good, but she never had that real badassery around her. The only one that really ever did anything like this was Black Widow. And she has always been a badass. She's always been very locked away, very reclusive, but also one of the family. She's kind of the sassy older sister, or just sassy sister of the Avengers. And they all love her for it. But she's never really that part of the group because she's never been allowed herself to be that open. But Brie Larson, Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel is a new section of this formula. She's open, she's herself, and she doesn't care what people say about her. She doesn't care what people think. She's here to get the job done, and she'll do it as quickly as possible. She's sassy, she's playful, she has all the best lines. I believe I explained this, I believe the best way to explain it is how... The best way to explain it would be how to see Black Widow and Captain Marvel operate if they were on the same mission. Say they're both given the same mission to get into a fancy party and get important data off some guy's computer at the party. Now, how would Black Widow do this? Well, she'd dress up very sexily, she'd flirt her way into the party, she'd play around with the target, try to get him alone, and then she'd reveal her assassin nature, knocking him out, getting the information, and getting out. Maybe having to knock a few heads or shoot her way out towards the end, but she'd be fine. But Captain Marvel would not do any of that. She'd show up in jeans and a denim jacket, and she would blast the front guard away. She'd then blast away through the party, find the computer, get the data off that, or just take the entire computer herself, and then just knock out everyone else within the general area just to escape. I mean, they might bring a tank into it, and she just shoot the tank away. That's just how she operates. She's not there to be the sexy female icon. She's there to be the brick-breaking female icon. She's there to punch her fist into her hand, glow very brightly, and make sure everyone is very intimidated. and she is not intimidated at all, and I really like her for that. Anyway, I really like this movie. It subverted a lot of my expectations, and it was spectacular to watch. Granted, it was one of the biggest complaints I get about many of the MCU movies is that they're all very much the same. You have a hero, he has some trouble, there's a villain, there's something that he has to stop the villain from doing, and he has to destroy him. But with this one, it was a lot smaller, it was a lot more personal of a story. And you thought there was going to be save the world from the Skrulls, but no, it's not. It's completely subverting all of that. Yes, it's similar in a lot of ways, but it's also a lot more different. And if you really want to see those differences, you're going to have to go and watch the film for yourself, if you still can. Anyway, final thoughts on this. I would rate this 8 gooses out of 10. Yes, there are 8 gooses I rate. It's a good film. I would watch it again. I have watched it again, and I'll definitely be buying it when it comes out and it's available. But it's it's an enjoyable film. And I also can't wait to see all the Captain Marvel cosplay at Comic-Con this year. Anyway, I've been Honest the Unquotable. This has been Don't Quote Me on That. Thank you for watching.